I wanted to take just one because they kind of looked like the Werther's originals and put it in a wrapper for it.
That's terrible.
I was not allowed.
Broccoli cheddar
That
cheese
would be
soup.
like an okay thing to do on April Fool's Day.
Maybe.
Which is tomorrow.
I know, I have to go back to school tonight to do my April Fool's prank.
I'm glad we started on that one.
Broccoli cheddar
That
cheese
would
soup.
be like.
All right, keep going.
Literally,
It should be good.
so we just kind of put the language in the negotiated agreement like what we would propose. It looked to match the policy that we currently have, and then we did tweak the policies too. So I'll go over both with you, if
Okay.
you're okay with that.
Yep.
For some reason.
All right, keep going.
Literally.
It should be good.
So we just kind of put the language in the negotiated agreement like what we proposed. It looked to match the.
Keep going.
I'm working.
Sorry.
Jessica, we just had that this morning.
What are you talking about? I couldn't.
The email that Drew sent, and I forwarded it to you too.
I know, but I told you that that was just the negotiation.
I understand that, but let's start there. I can't find even that though now, is what I'm saying.
Well, I thought you were looking for board policy.
No, send that, forward what I sent to you back to me. We'll do the board policies here in a minute. I don't know why. It's not working.
It's getting a head start on April Fool's Day.
Find it?
I'm not even logged in. so
Jeez Louise.
Do you want?
Let's go to something else. We'll come back to that if that's okay, Levi.
Um,
Otherwise, we're gonna be here till midnight.
so
Can't even turn our computers on.
I think we left off on the salary schedule regulations about the long-term subs and the contract.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, we proposed to allow long-term subs, paras to come into the district with experience onto the salary schedule. You guys came back and you wanted to do, you were good with that for long-term subs in open positions for 4 years. So this is kind of our counter to that one. We would like to do we're willing to accept the 4-year max. However, we would like to make it retroactive for employees hired in the last 5 years. And the reason for that is because.
So I'm a long-term sub that did it, and you're gonna we'll go back for those folks.
Yes. And the reason we feel like that's, sorry, I'm sorry, passing that out. The reason we feel like that's important is because someone got hired at a long-term sub last year, they did what we needed them to do, but they would have came in with 3 years of experience. Now someone else who got hired as a long-term sub next year is gonna have more experience than them.
Leapfrogging.
Right, leapfrogging. And so we think like it's important to include a retroactive for 5 years to make it 1 year extra for that 4-year max.
Sorry. And you still agree that they had to have passed the test, correct?
Well, what do you, the.
Like if they passed the test, they long-term subbed for 3 years, then passed the test and went into a,
Master practice before we would pay them for that.
Oh, I see. I'm not sure actually if did we discuss that one? I don't remember if we talked about that specifically or not.
That was one of the things that we talked about. I think those were, that was our big thing, was we wanted to cap it and we wanted to. And so the 3 things that I remember us talking about was having a cap of 4 years. Only including long-term subs and not pairs, because typically move those pairs into long-term sub positions when they're ready, and so we would.
Yeah, that's why we agreed to that. We thought that was decent.
And then the other thing was that we wanted them to have successfully completed their coursework and passed their practice exam before they would be eligible. And in my mind, the way I would see that is they could come in at a step 0, and then if they haven't passed it, once they pass it, then we would kind of like, you know, how you do your PDC points, and if you do it at semester, I mean, we could do that at semester if they pass it. I mean, I think we could look at doing something similar to that.
Okay.
You guys want to talk?
Probably. No, just to be clear, so they pass the praxis, they move up at that point, or would it be they move up right when they pass the praxis, so like that?
I'm gonna leave that up to you. Do you want to do that at semester, or do you want to do that? That's gonna affect your office more than mine, and what that looks like.
I would say to be consistent, we could treat it like we do with PDC points, so it would be retro to that semester.
Okay.
So they may not pass it till March, but we would go back to the first
January
day
or
of,
whatever.
yeah.
Okay. Any questions? All right. Yeah, Curtis for 10.
10.
3.
Okay, 553.
freezing, I cannot stand 3 to 4.
Well, yeah, they say the terrible twos, but the threes are so worse because they talk,
Because they talk.
because they talk.
5 and 6 was where it was.
I just was glad when I did.
Actually, we're anywhere from 3 to 20, David said.
I only had to go through it for a short window of time, but it was double.
They're all right, yeah, I don't know which one's worse.
Can't even imagine twins. Daycare's worse.
Daycare's
When it's not your kid, that's worse.
But when you go home,
It was in my home. No, so then the problem became I was always home and never had anybody to talk to.
Oh,
The
okay.
conversation.
That's a different problem than
Chance
my
would,
problem.
Chance would come home and I'd be like, you're like talking and talking, she'd be like, stop.
I think we came back with more questions, to be honest with you, than,
Do you want me to like say what we kind of outlined like more details and see if that answers your
Yeah,
questions right?
yeah,
Okay.
start.
So instead of those hired anytime in 2020, we'd like to do fiscal year 21 hires. So like that would be August of 2020.
Okay,
Just because that first semester it kind of interferes with the 4-year max.
okay,
Only count full years, and they had to be in the open position. So the long-term sub in an open position. And then no credit until the test is passed, and do it retro, exactly the same way we do PDC points, just to be consistent. So if somebody passes their test prior to September 1st, they would, and they had long-term sub for 4 years, they would get that as of the first of the school year.
Okay.
If they passed it by after September 1st, but before February 1st, they would get it for the second semester, just like PDC points.
Okay.
But yeah, and then after that, we totally agree that somebody who just started, like, and has, we like the last 5 years, just because if somebody started this year and then somebody came back, they could even do more.
Yeah, so I guess that does answer some of the questions.
Okay.
Some questions we still have is like, why did you want to tie it to the practice? What's the reasoning between tying it to the pass and the practice?
Part of it is because if you go on a teaching contract, right, and you don't pass your test, you go back to long-term sub pay. So if you would give somebody, not tied to the test, if you would give somebody 4 years of sub credit, and then they were in a T2T program and had 3 years, they could essentially be on step 7. And then if they don't pass their test, they're gonna go clear back to long-term sub pay, and that's a pretty big pay decrease to adjust back to.
Okay. And when you talk about the practice, are we just talking about the PLT? Are we talking about like content area praxis? Or are those tied together? I actually,
In my mind, it
I'm
would be, all-
TGT, so I don't know how.
yeah, it would be all the practices that are needed for whatever you're
that
teaching.
position.
Yeah.
Because you
So
do
like,
have teachers who are certified and they won't go back to long-term sub, but they're not content areas.
they're teaching out of content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be different because we're not gonna kick them back to a long-term.
They're
sub.
still certified.
So they're still gonna be certified moving forward.
So it's just whatever practice is required to be certified.
So
So
I
like,
guess in that case, I think that this was just maybe a little bit confusing to us, because I was also like T to T, right? And I'm not 100% sure if this is still the way it is, but I had to pass my content practice at the beginning and then PLT at the end. And so there's this weird,
beginning
like
of-
2-year, at the beginning of like
of your-
when I had my
your contract,
restricted
your first
license,
year.
right? And I spent a couple of weeks, I think, with long-term sub at the beginning of the year because my scores weren't in yet. But when you say praxis, I'm like, okay, like which end of this does this mean?
so let's take that. So you have your, and that's the other issue that we have too, is we're trying to get folks to not stretch this out for 100 years. So you start teaching and oftentimes you'll get a 1-year non-renewable license, okay? And I can teach under that, and during that year, that's the time we want you to get all your tests taken, get everything completed. So you have that year to complete all those tests. If you've not done that by the end of that year, then you're gonna go back to a long-term sub at that point. So in order to get paid for that, we need to complete all those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
once
so-
you have your Kansas.
So it's just not
teaching
stretching
license,
things
it
out.
starts.
Yeah, you're on the clock. So you'll get your initial license. In my mind, it starts with your initial, not when you get your professional license. It would be when you get your, or provisional, I don't know what they call them anymore, but back in the old days when I did it, it was an initial license.
There are, listen, I was back there looking up this.
I think it's
So-
initial, like mine says IN.
There's like,
That's initial.
like
There's
definitely,
initials though,
there's
right?
definitely an initial license, like my progression of having a license was that I had, the emergency supplement or whatever, and then I had, I think it was called the restricted license. And then it depended a little bit on some things, I think, like when you come out of T to T, whether you get like your initial or your professional at that point, but
But either way, that's it, in your, and the way you see how this works. Any of those licenses, that would work as long as they pass the praxis that keeps them certified.
They would have to have something to give them an actual light teaching license and not just a,
Cause you
So-
can hire people with, on certified with, before they pass those
Yeah.
practices, they have a year.
and then if they haven't.
So it would be their professional license.
Yeah. Well, and if they haven't passed all those courses, then they're gonna go back.
Yeah.
So
But, well, it's not the professional license, right? Because
be provisional
you could
or,
have a lot of different licenses before you get to
is
professional.
that right, provisional?
He says
Oh.
professional.
He's not on the table.
Well,
Sorry.
We can bring it up if we need.
the professional one is also like you have to have like you have to have had like the 2 years of mentoring
2 years of
and that stuff,
mentoring, yeah.
right? So like,
There's a lot of other
like in
things you have to do.
my position.
But
I
you
had-
could have
because-
completed those 2 years of mentoring and still not pass your
Yeah, totally.
praxis.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if this makes sense to like tie to. Like, I'm wondering if this makes sense to tie to some other marker, because I think it might be confusing in terms of the,
Yeah, I just don't know what that marker might be. I mean, praxis, I mean, I understand the reason for the praxis, because you pass the praxis.
Right.
You're not going back to.
Right. And then you become highly qualified and
Yeah.
meet all the things that we need you to have for our state reports. And that's the issue that we have is oftentimes I feel like there's a lot of people who truly do have test anxiety and they struggle, and so they're a little anxious about taking the test, and I get that. There are other folks that just stretch it out forever.
Right.
And we need to not do that.
Here's one thing, another 5-minute caucus real quick.
Sure.
Just to clarify anything else. Maybe get some extra opinion.
Okay, so 650 or 550?
Yeah.
Okay.
Works.
I don't know that. Watching Drew know the answer, but not be able to. It's great, isn't it? I love watching it.
That's when you give the gifted kid too much wait time.
I don't think we care about that.
Yeah.
How are you? Just having fun. Do good. Sharp. You got the best of
Well,
it.
I agree. As long as you've got a license.
This should come back. The best is back.
Later.
Did they pause that?
I don't know, okay.
I don't think they did.
Hold on.
But yeah, and then.
Hello? No,
Nope, it's not paused.
no.
Am I smart enough to pause it? Don't answer that the way you want to.
I'll text her.
So if you can work as a long-term sub, if I had a subject I wanted to teach, can I be a teacher and teach that when I'm not qualified until I get qualified, or?
Can you ask your question again? I'm sorry.
You can work as a long-term sub, even if you're not qualified, but let's say there's something you want to teach, but you're not qualified.
Hello.
How many seconds behind is the audio from this?
It was like a good 10 to 15 seconds behind. I'm not hearing anything.
Wait, it says board mic is muted.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not hearing anything from
But
you.
that was true before I got up there.
I'm not hearing anything now though. Did you find your favorite bracelet? I was waiting. I was waiting while I was looking.
What you doing?
Hello?
How many seconds behind is the audio?
Oh, it was
That's
like a good 10
definitely
to
right.
15 seconds behind.
So.
I'm not hearing anything. Oh, I am hearing. Texture behavior.
Well, the thing is, yeah, I want to try and teach Latin, but I couldn't do it this year because I don't think I'm good enough, but I'm taking online classes.
In this case, I think it would just depend on how many people would register for a section of Latin.
Mhm.
And then you can work half your sections outside of your content area.
Just
Oh, really?
take the test. My experience is if you take the test, you pass.
Well, I want to wait another year
Not
or
a
two
constant
before I
now.
take this.
Right
I want to wait another year or two before I take that test,
now. Okay.
but I'm good enough at basics that I
So
know I could do it.
Did you think the last version was easier than what
Yeah.
you took?
My score was incredibly higher,
Last version of what?
but it was different. You have to remember the sections weren't the same.
What test?
You're missing straight
No,
economy,
I
straight
thought,
behavioral
I thought it was,
science.
but I was convinced, but remember, I was convinced I failed it too.
OMG. Oh yeah, mine told me right away, but I also didn't take it at
But you
home.
took it, I was in the first 30,
Mine took it right at home. Mine told me right away.
right, but I was in the first 30 and that's why it didn't tell me.
Yeah.
What test is it?
Social studies.
0, 4, 5, 7.
What are you doing the social studies on?
For funsies. OMG. What happened? Let me see. Do it again. Can we do it again? Can you show me?
So which praxis tests are supposed to be the easiest to take?
I don't know. There's a real answer to that. I think it would depend on the test taker. To me, all of them will be incredibly hard. Oh, hi. Do you wanna go see if there's toys? Let's go see if I can get you some toys. Come here. Etsy, are you gonna be okay there by yourself or no? Oh, good. Well, your mom's walking back in.
Oh, yeah, got so excited. I'm here. Did you sit so nicely?
She did, she was very.
Good job. They said you did so
Hey,
good.
not muted.
She just took my
Yeah, it's
baby,
not-
so I don't know if you're
I don't know.
okay
how
with
to
that,
do
Levi, but
Huh?
she just took the baby, so it might be
Yeah,
yours
Don't
now.
ever see them again.
She said she's looking for a toy.
Excuses.
I think that means she wanted the baby.
Well, maybe, I don't know.
She brings it home, she's changing the diapers, I don't care.
We thought you might not come back.
I give it about a 50-50 shot.
Oh, with the baby?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're at a hard pass right here.
She warmed up to you real quick.
So you say you only have to be qualified for half of the classes you teach?
They can also force you to teach classes. That's why we're allowed to teach mentoring. Yeah, that's so exciting. Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna make a little.
Oh, I just got that, Jason, sorry.
Are you, I can move it back.
I believe.
Did you send something and then take it back?
Me?
Yeah, you did. But you didn't take it back.
I took it back. I was like, I didn't know I could take it back.
I've only done that with one human. Hold on. Okay, look. Look at this.
This one's yours. You want me to put yours on the floor? You can sit in it? Or do you sit down? Where do you want to go? It's like, oh yeah, I'll eat it. I'll eat anything. Oh.
I don't think so.
She's very mobile these days.
Can you move the red? Right.
Red. Red.
I don't know, that personal email list must be out of the, I don't know.
Hey, listen, you wanna sit down, you gotta sit down. Push. Push.
Alert tonight.
Good job. So good, push. Here, you want another one? Look. You want another one?
She is like, look, lady, get out of my way. Show her how she can stand up with it.
That's not confusing.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
My family would eat it.
That's what I need to ask.
More questions?
We got more thoughts too,
Yeah.
so
Okay, all right.
this may be a never ending topic.
We thought that it would be cleaner to say upon the issuance of a provisional license. That way it takes care of the praxis and penalty.
We said the same thing.
Okay.
That's what we.
So there you go.
I'm glad we got to say
Smart.
So the issuance of
good
a
with that?
provisional license. Okay, so we agree.
Provisional or like just provisional or any like professional license or whatever.
Yeah, they got
it.
And you guys are okay with the same retro criteria as the PUC to be consistent?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing that.
I don't know what's happening. So do you wanna, from here, do we need to clean up and put the actual verbiage together and bring it to you, or?
So our ground rules say whoever brings the proposal, and that's technically our proposal, but I do think in this case, you guys would probably have the expertise to be able to do that.
Okay.
in there,
That's fine.
if that's okay with you. To cover all the bases.
So we will bring it back how we would propose it be worded in the negotiated agreement. Okay, yep.
Let me put in to here. Okay. That's good with what I think comes to the middle, and then go over to that.
Valerie's gonna get this question answered.
Roll it, third one down.
Yeah.
Apple Avenue. Oh, hey,
She
wait,
is
wait,
certified.
wait.
She wasn't certified. She was on the higher license.
Oh, I know. Mhm.
I'm currently
Very much.
Separate color last year for like, we agreed on with CIP. No.
But if we're talking about bringing the language at the next meeting.
Probably have to vote for it. Yeah, well, I mean, you could tentatively.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's okay to vote, the understanding that. Yeah, I think both sides need to feel comfortable if we don't like how the language is
I
specific.
think we, I'm not going to leadership, it's fine.
Yeah.
Are we all in favor? I'm gonna create a new column for the language review. How do you feel about that?
It's fine with me.
She was paid for. She was or wasn't?
You agree with that?
Okay, now we voted on something, so everybody gets one.
I'm in for
You're in the negative, yeah.
You guys figure out the.
Yeah, so. Let's just take a 5 minute. Real quick, yeah, if you're cool with that, then we'll go with that.
6:06.
That'll work.
Are we gonna say what this is on?
Yeah, we're on the two things that we had, that we,
You want me to show you how it
the
goes?
language
Yeah.
for these two. We need to talk about one quick thing before I make sure you guys. follow it. it may. I'm gonna give you both, so we've got both of the policies that we discussed, safety and security policy plus the competition, so we'll talk about things from in front of that. Okay. You guys like both, okay? Does that make sense what I'm saying? So we'll talk transportation first, okay? Our proposal is to just take the language from the policy, and really the only change that we're talking about when we talk about the transportation policy is the it says the availability of transportation. We would say the availability of district vehicles. One change that we would recommend to make the policy itself. Okay. And then this is what that would look like if you look under, sorry, section I. This is kind of, we just kind of plugged it into where it would, what it would look like in the negotiated agreement and where it would go. So the highlighted part there, don't pay attention to section K, just look at section I. But section I would just be, staff members shall be reimbursed at a mileage rate established by the board. And then the policy covers us saying that if they have district vehicles available, then they know that they need to take that and they wouldn't have the option to. Yeah, and so we had a little trouble figuring out how to redline. We finally figured it out when we got done making all these changes. So moving forward, any changes that we propose, we'll redline them going forward so you guys can see what we took out and what we added. But you're struggling a little bit. March.
Yeah, I got it done 4:25 PM on March 31st.
Was there anything else before?
That's it for this one.
Okay.
We'll dig into the next one next. Or we can do both if you want to do both. I was give you both of our proposals and go talk about both of them.
Sure.
Time. Okay, so the other one is like we talked about, the way that the policy originally written, it doesn't specifically say if they're hurt at work. And so we just took the language out of the policy. The only thing that we really changed in this policy is on paragraph 3, an employee, and it's just language. Things that we should have caught last year that we didn't, we changed the his or her to there. And then where such event occurs, it should be on school grounds instead of in school grounds. We just had a couple of grammatical errors when we read over it, but we didn't really have any substantive changes to this. We just wanted to add the language lined up with this that's in here. And so, so if you look at, Article 5, Section A, we just put, and so some of that is other language that we'd already agreed on that we went through and changed. Yeah, the last paragraph, and it carries over to the back page. So any employee who has suffered an assault and or battery in connection with their employment, where such an event occurs on school grounds or while the school employee is engaged in duties at a regularly scheduled school event, may within 2 weeks thereafter make a written report. It's exactly what it says in the policy. We just cut it out to make it match. For some reason, when we did that, the language didn't match the policy when we did that last year. So we just want to make it match. Got questions on that one?
Right now.
There's a couple real places in his policy that we need to change from his and her. Okay.
I don't know if that crosses over because like it's there in this paragraph because that paragraph matches what's in the NA. But you guys haven't changed
Yeah,
his
because these
or,
are policies, not
yeah,
negotiated.
this is not, yeah, this is your policies and you guys didn't change your
Right.
to there, so they, so, I don't know if they'll go. Because that would be your.
That would, this would be on us,
policy.
we wouldn't have, GCA wouldn't have to, this would just be us getting more
Yeah.
to change that.
But we made some change.
Yeah. We can-
Any questions, Will? Um,
Sounds good. Ladder.
Thank you.
It was a little quicker than I thought. She doesn't have shoes on, I'm just gonna keep leaving.
Oh, come here. See, look, there we go. What are we doing?
He's so close to you, sleepy. Yeah, you are, you sleepy.
Hey,
Can you
Drew,
get me the blanket? Can you get me the blue
we need to
blanket?
remember when we leave, we've got food that's been in the freezer that we've had in there since Christmas time that we need to take home.
Oh, say thank you.
They
Say
told me like
thank you,
3 times when they're
Auntie.
cleaning the fridge that we need to take it home, and I told them.
Yeah, is that your
Yeah,
blanket?
we'll get it when we go home, and then I never do.
Baseball, get going.
One little, two little, three little piggies,
Not
four
getting
little,
started.
five little, little piggies. You too? Yes.
You got any big issues before you start?
I lost a couple good players.
Eddie, you already have hours? They just started.
Yeah, had 3 so far.
Russ, saw you riding your bike past my office the other day.
Saturday or Friday?
Friday?
Where's your
Here's-
office?
There's a rule, nobody can bring junk anymore.
On Sagebrush Road, where you ride up to the feedlot
Oh,
and turn
yeah,
around.
yeah. Yeah, that hill. That hill.
I know.
So I take. I don't think so. Come here. Hold it.
That's when I first started riding. And I rode that a lot. That's the end of that, the end of the pavement
Mhm.
was exactly 5 miles from my drive.
Is it? So I can get from my house, I can walk, I can go up the hill, over to the scale house, around the scale house, back down,
And I can get not quite 3 miles from my house.
Are not necessarily.
There.
The scale house there at the female? Where's that at?
So,
I mean, honestly, Jackie, I'm either struggling to get up the hill when I go that way, or I'm flying
trying
back
to
down.
control coming down, yeah. So where that road goes, you stay on, do you just turn around where the pavement ends right there? So,
The other folks I ride with are always on bikes with road tires, and so, like, I could keep going.
so like there's that big barn there, and then there's a commodity barn here, and then back over there is the scale house.
So further down.
When you, like if you go into the feed yard. But I gotta go, in order to get almost, you have to go around it.
Is that a feed yard? I thought it was a mill.
There's a mill there too, a feed mill there. Yeah, it's our feed yard
It
though.
always just smells like a feed mill.
The silage piles are right there.
Yeah, the first couple of years I rode that.
Be careful,
I
Auntie,
was
my
lazy
coffee's
in the
right there,
summer and I
okay?
wouldn't ride until
Can you be
after.
careful?
So
Thank you so
Out there
much for
in the
being careful.
95 degrees and I'm trying to climb the hill.
It's hard to walk it even.
It is, it's not very long, but it's so steep.
Yeah, and walking is like, you don't see what's coming.
I don't.
No, you can't see over that.
Yeah.
You know, the hill that's the worst out here though is on bike is 6 Mile Road. You come off at 83,
Oh,
6
okay.
Mile and go
Yeah.
up and go.
Yes.
Eating candy.
That hill is almost as steep. And it's a good
Pack of sweets.
quarter of a mile. And it's just like.
Do you ever ride through sagebrush?
those
I've
Tracy's
never
youngest
ridden
too?
It's,
Yeah. Choose 2 others.
In the
But it would be rough.
if I have the time, I'll walk through sagebrush.
Ours are all the
There's
same
Up
age
and
except
down and
this one.
curved.
Yeah.
It's all.
The one,
I
so
agree.
the,
I agree.
there's one first hill and it goes up and it's, that's off the dirt entrance, just across from our house. It goes into there, there's a pretty good hill there and it's,
The ride that I haven't done in a long time that is fun and a real workout is to take old 83 out. So where it turns back either over to 83 or over to the plant. So you can either go to Holcomb. And that thing is
yeah.
just like this.
No, no, thank you.
When you huff up the hill and then you ride as fast down the next hill as you can, hoping you got enough
It's
momentum.
momentum going up.
But I also now have an electric assist bike, so
Lauren would always
I
ride,
cheat a little bit.
Lauren would go ride through sagebrush and every time she did it, she realized why she didn't like doing it.
Well, and that would be the same way, like there'd be corners there that you just can't see.
You see red? You're so
Okay. Hey, Jack.
But that road going out to the plant, Jackie, there's a couple of blind corners.
Yeah.
I see purple. Do you
Yeah,
see
they came
purple?
over before,
Oh, did they?
right after he asked her, they came over.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just laughed.
And she just wouldn't stop crying. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what Beth said, and I
You
said,
don't need to
oh.
cry. Oh, but I said, did you have any idea? No,
Talking, just like I told Beth, I said, I'm so good. Anytime I cry, I usually.
no.
And so I am going to make fun of her, and I'm going to tease her.
Well, then she's like, Ellie was saying, are you wearing that to go eat tonight? Well, yeah, what's wrong with that? "Oh, you probably need to wear something different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. It's funny how the girls kind of try to slide that in there too. Yeah, and so I guess she said that the sisters, they were being like brutal, so like, forget which one, maybe it was Chelsea, said, oh my God, I can't believe how big that much is compared to mine, and then Audrey pops in and then Ellie pops in and they're all talking about how yours is bigger than everybody else's and how unfair and how horrible that is. Their husbands are standing right there.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that sounds like they're gonna work.
Well, Hagan told Wyatt what he paid for it and how long he's been paying on it.
Well, did you say he sold one of his trucks to do it?
He sold the welding truck that he had built. He sold it and, 3 weeks ago, him and Wyatt took it to Colby. He sold it and he's wanting to get a house.
He's a good kid.
We were working on an intro for a performance last week. And we looked up the average cost of a wedding in the United States right now.
So,
Average.
Randy said.
Drew sent me-
That's average.
Drew sent me a thing that had the average cost of a wedding by each state.
Uh-huh.
The cheapest state, and I told my home state, I told Beth, we should have got married, we should have taken you back to Wyoming and got married. The average wedding is $9,000 in Wyoming.
I told
California,
My daughter's wedding.
$77,000, Russ.
I believe it though.
how much?
$77,000. I'm like,
Both of my wife's
that's a new boat
sisters-
truck.
Both of my wife's twin sisters.
When was your wedding? My wedding was $5,000. Yeah, and it, we paid for everything.
Her other brother-in-law that's married to her oldest sister,
Uh-huh.
the two of us pulled both of them aside and said, if you will, we will give you $2,000, and this is in the early 90s, right? We'll give you $2,000 right now to just elope
Yeah,
and save us all the headache of
and it's
it.
really funny, so Beth
Nobody would take us up on it.
Yeah. made the comment,
I didn't have $2,000 back in those days, but I'd have found it.
yeah. Beth made the comment, she said, you know, if I wouldn't have promised my grandpa that I was gonna get married in the church, we would have totally eloped. She would have promised her grandpa, so she felt like she needed to follow through with it. It's just insane. So the first time they went to their caterer, she comes back and she calls and she says, Dad, we're gonna. Just for the caterer. And she's like, yeah, we're not doing that. And I'm like, well, that's good, because I don't really want to pay that. And so they found somebody else, and it's less than half of what that was, but still.
I read that statistic, it was like, if you think about that's nationwide, right? So it's $35,000 is the average. That counts every courthouse steps wedding.
Everything.
Like, right, like, so all of the ones that are not spending.
There's other people that are going out.
That's the average.
Well, when the average in California is $77,000, you know there are people that are paying a whole lot more. And New York is second, which that doesn't surprise me, but they're not even close. They're like.
3-year wedding.
With $77,000.
She's not, she's close to a price times, but she's suffering.
Go across the border, get married.
Soon. Well, I'm gonna text her. Get ready, I'll be back. I have to go drop my mom.
You need to change your name on this one we just did. You need to put Linda's name in there.
Oh, thank you.
You should probably put it.
I noticed that, I just.
Have an extra column for
Hey, so
Linda.
what I love, I don't have to change the order. It goes right in there anyways, just beautiful without the order. I like that.
Good catch, Jack.
Alright, we are good with the language changes for leave. You know, that's all reasonable to make that change, except for we would like to make sure it's a certain time.
Oh, yeah, we just copied that straight out of the,
I know.
yeah, yep, good call. And are you guys good with the mileage one too?
That one we are not.
Okay,
Um,
let me go back here. Make sure that I get this one. So the very first, a certified employee.
yeah,
Okay, what do you got with transportation?
we would just prefer that to be at the state level, when we make it to where it's established by the board. Board's busy, are they gonna be able to update that rate every single year?
They have
So-
to at their July organizational meeting, and that's why we did that, is because every July we.
Because we didn't want to put it in there and then have it change. So the board updates it every July and they go with the state rate. And so that way it leaves the flexibility for it to change, so we don't have to change the negotiated agreement in these policies every year.
Or if it went
Sure,
lower
I
than
mean, I
the
think-
board wanted it to, the board has the ability to go higher if
Yeah.
they wanted.
Well, I mean, do you have to change the negotiated agreement every year as it is?
No, you would not have to.
But if you put a flat number in there,
No, he's not
Sure.
saying a
Yeah,
flat
we don't
number,
want a
he's
flat
This is
saying,
in comparison to what's in there now, which
Yeah.
is like.
he's
it's
saying leave it how
set
it
by
is
state.
and not the.
oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I wasn't following you. Okay.
It would
Is
ne-
the
it would
board
just-
book, is it designated like a number?
No.
No,
Oh,
Like, I think that that's a thing, the fact that there's not an
The
easy
policy,
to find
no,
number
but-
somewhere is a thing that would be a little bit problematic, right? Cause I can come over here and look up like Kansas State mileage rate 2024 and know what it's gonna be.
Yeah, you're just tying to where it could never be higher if the board would wanna pay more than that.
they wanna throw
You
an
could-
at least in there?
yeah,
I
we
thought
could add the
got
words
one
at least.
in there. Staff member shall be reversed at a mileage, what does it say exactly? On this, on the wrong page.
As of July 1st of the current fiscal.
Mileage rate will be at least as
You know?
much as that allowed by the state of Kansas to certified employees as of July first of current fiscal year. I'm good with that.
so if I'm hearing right, your concern is that it could be, you're afraid the board would set the number lower than what the state rate would be?
I mean,
Would be your concern?
potentially, yeah. When you put it in the negotiated agreement that it's in the board book, that just means the board has full control, we don't have any say over it anymore. I prefer not to give up that power.
Can it change anytime? Like, can the state change it
I think
anytime?
they only update it
They
annually.
only do that.
We'll do it once a year.
Yeah.
So I would say we probably, yeah, that's fine, we'll just leave it that way.
And then, I mean, obviously, whatever you guys want to do.
Because and the other issue is, that's very seldom gonna happen except for our itinerant staff. Those are the only folks that are gonna be claiming mileage anyway. I mean,
Because those are the ones.
And then-
use per vehicle, right?
Right.
in all the years that I've been here, I can't think of a time when we had somebody going out of town for district travel where we didn't have some sort of a district vehicle. Now, I've drawn some junkers that I was wondering if I was gonna get from point A to point B in them, but I was at a district vehicle to go with, so.
That sounds like a totally different issue entirely.
No, but that was the biggest thing was, we have staff that are wanting to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And get frustrated when we won't let them take mileage to take their own vehicle. Well, if we've got a district vehicle, we're not gonna let them do that.
Yeah, and if
And that
there's,
was really the whole justification why we wanted to change the policy.
I got you, and if there's something.
But we can do that in the policy
Right.
change
This
itself.
is just because I don't know, being fairly new, if there's a conflict between the negotiated agreement and a board policy, what trumps?
Negotiated agreement.
Negotiated agreement.
Only for certain,
Oh,
only for certified staff. For
That's
certain
who the
employees, correct.
negotiated agreement covers.
Yes, the board policy would cover every other employee, certified employees
The
is
negotiated
negotiated.
agreement trumps, that's good to know.
okay.
Good addition back there.
I didn't hear anything.
Shall we vote?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Put stuff in this way.
I think while you guys were in caucus, we actually come up language for what's up right now too.
I saw
If we want to
that.
talk about the language, we can do that too.
Big injury. Actually, do you have this,
Well, we may not be doing
do
that.
you have this language somewhere, Josh, actually?
What you got?
The leave language that we just agreed to, that we just
Yeah.
copy and pasted in?
Mhm.
Oh, wait,
You don't wanna type it all
I
again?
do not know what they're called, no.
Do I have editing access to that?
I think so. I think
I
you
think
and
it's
I,
the
just
head
you and I,
negotiators have it.
Okay.
yes.
We do sign off checks. Uh, 35. That was under, what was that under Levi? Employee injury at school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it does that. Let's do regular grades. This. Gotta right click. You do that and just cut and paste from there. Maybe it's. Yeah, now I can't undo it.
Do you want me to try it, Josh?
Yeah. How about I text you what I got? Do you want me to email what I got and then?
Well, it's all here, isn't it?
Yeah. About the Google expert that you are. Okay. Let me read through this and make sure that everything you have on there is what we got, okay? Here you go, we need to change
I got you.
a certified employee. So a certified employee who has suffered an assault and or battery in connection with their employment or such event occurs on school grounds or while the employee is engaged in duty at a regularly scheduled school event may within 2 weeks thereafter make a written report of the circumstances to the superintendent or their designee. The superintendent or their designee finds that the certified employee has used reasonable judgment, they shall be paid full salary, less any BOE provided disability benefits without having such absence charged as emergency leave. We good? Okay. There we go.
I should change Tracy to Linda.
Does it still smell?
When it's like hot, you need a fan.
Well, I went over to change it, but our thermostat's broken. We're.
Yeah, I was like, there's no like air circulation, it's just kind of like,
Yeah.
Feels like the high school.
depends on the room.
If I had Alex on a full screen. It should hit escape or F11 again. No?
I mean, I'd rather have it extremely cold than extremely hot.
Me too.
Cause I can bundle up.
If you also put the mouse up at the very top of the text, should
My
show
room
up
has
the
always
areas.
just been cool. Like it was
Yeah,
60
yeah,
degrees
cool, there you
every day.
And then like 78 degrees and you can air circulation.
go. All right.
You know, it's like when that happens, I wanna murder somebody.
I'm good.
Why is there a random 35?
Well, that's page number.
Oh, yeah. Copies of page number when I did that.
Yeah. there's something weird with
There you go.
formatting.
Okay.
Good.
I'm trying to think.
I also have a conversation with Travis, talk about it.
Yeah, we need to know.
So, go for that one.
Yeah, use of vehicles.
Yeah.
I'm voting for the vehicles. The ties are lost in this game.
So we're. Okay.
I know.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So that one's green, right? Let me do that green.
Yeah, we'll work on this one.
What? Scroll down. It's under leave.
You know what, I bet we just kind
Oh,
of.
no, that's mine.
Yeah, it's under leave.
Right, but where that is where, like, right there, so.
Oh, yeah, we probably got other stuff. Are you okay if I green out the one we just voted on?
Yeah, oh yeah, go for it, yeah, yeah.
I'll green that out, yeah.
So on the vehicle, it says that the personnel office will provide a copy of the current board policy. But because the availability of district vehicles is in the policy and not the negotiated agreement, we still can't tie that. Is that correct? So we still have to pay somebody even if there's a district vehicle.
No. We can still let it go.
It's, our reading of the negotiation agreement, we could be wrong, it says nothing about how, whether you allow them to use private vehicles or district vehicles, right?
It just says we provide you this.
Yes. So you guys
But
can
we're
change.
not tied, you're not tied to it, right? Because you
No, we
said-
are tied to the board policy. Because, so this is just saying, we'll give you the board policy that governs what cars you can take. And you can make that to whatever you want to say, right? And if it says you can only use district vehicles unless a district vehicle is not available, then that's what we're tied to.
Because there's nothing that contradicts.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
The
Now,
only
we
piece
had
that
in here
contradicts it
saying-
is if we had a different compensation piece.
Yeah, and or if we could set something like, in here, that.
Staff members may
should
choose to take
use
personal
private vehicles,
vehicles and
then,
it trumps the right, so, okay, thank you.
Those things, we did all the official stuff on that. Do we wanna get this language real quick? Drew saying?
That was,
Zoom for long-term subs.
oh, long-term sub, yeah, that's right, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Do we wanna take a look
We looked at so
that?
much, it started
No, I know.
started to blend together.
I got you. Or do you wanna save that for next time, maybe?
I would say let's do that.
That's just in the video, Josh.
My name doesn't show up, because it's weird. I think it's wrong. I think so.
That will get you guys about, long-term subs.
We already got one policy.
Oh, your wife's music. Just saying, you don't wanna go to every single one.
I go to two.
That's enough.
Okay.
I think it's just a little vague versus this policy applies to that you serve these roles. So qualifying individuals,
What are you looking at?
about halfway down.
That's all these policies.
So maybe who served as a long-term substitute in an open position.
Would that be, they would have to have had a long-term sub back to, been a long-term sub between 2020 and 21 and now? Or would it require? Makes sense.
Yeah, beginning, they would have been long-term subs beginning 2020,
Hired,
2021.
hired.
That's what I was thinking, but I'm not sure how that.
Teachers?
So, because like if they're hired in 2020, 21,
Hired.
certified,
Yeah.
maybe 4 years max, right?
Yes.
Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a little vague, I'm not sure that's exactly.
So who were hired as certified teachers beginning with the 2020?
Yeah, I think that would make sense. For teachers in.
Why don't you cut and paste it, let's put it up on the policy. And then we can.
Well, that would be you, I don't know. Oh, I put it in the tablet.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Sorry, I thought it was up there. One more, Drew. Yeah. Sorry. So I'm gonna go back to what it was, because I. So highlight the specific sentence we're talking about.
don't think you're
Am I? Can I not highlight just the line in this?
It's not bad, I think you can underline it.
So this policy applies retroactively to qualified individuals
There we
who
go.
were hired as certified teachers beginning with the 20 school year.
Do we need to keep it? Is that?
Yeah, because we would also want to include them if they were hired in 21, 22.
Hired, or you could say hired, yeah,
Alright.
or.
I speak. We have to vote for that one, but we'll let Drew speak. Or I can just speak on this too. We'll let him. Go ahead. Drew.
The policy applies retroactively to qualifying individuals who were hired as teachers beginning with the 2020-21 school
Hired as certified employees.
certified employees.
Cause that's what we said, August 2020.
That's,
We would
Is that what
consider
you're
that, but
saying?
it's only gonna be teachers, because you're not gonna have
You don't have
long-term subs for speech paths or PTs or those things.
I mean, we can do this.
On a license too. Yeah. Oh, that's, I see what you're saying, yeah.
So how about that?
Good call.
This policy applies retroactively to qualified individuals who were hired as certified employees between the 2021 school year and the 2024-2025.
I mean, you don't want it to cut off.
Yeah.
2021.
I would say,
Well, since it's talking about retroactive.
Yeah. And then it
Right.
won't
I
begin,
also think though that like, once you get,
anyone hired after that year is irrelevant, because
Maybe
we're
we-
gonna follow the rest of it.
right,
Yeah, maybe we take that sentence and put it at the bottom as like retroactive notice and just like
yeah,
in what, 4 or 5 years.
take it out, yes.
Well, that is like good optimism.
It'll be irrelevant in 45 years.
And the negotiated agreement is 150 pages.
This policy applies retroactively to qualifying individuals hired as certified employees from school year 2025. Where? Any issues, concerns from the city?
What in your, like, what does? When talking about it is the responsibility of the employee to provide documentation of their service, what?
you gotta show
what is
that they've got their, they've gotta turn in the paperwork, they have to turn in the transcripts to show us that they've passed their tests and everything, that they've got their license.
But that's
Same as we have to do
saying
for
documentation of their service, that's saying like the years that they subbed. We would have that.
Right.
Maybe
Work
that just feels a little
with-
bit like if I'm looking at this policy, I'm like, what am I supposed to, I'm supposed to turn in something.
Because they don't sign
W-2s.
contracts,
Right.
they don't sign contracts. And a W-2 wouldn't
I mean, but
necessarily
the thing
say
is
what they
that-
were doing.
I mean, the thing is additionally that it's like, this is limited to stuff that is within the district.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like,
Responsibility of the employee to request their years of service
Yeah,
and provide.
I think they need to
transcripts.
request, that might be, because we do that, same thing with PDC points.
Cause honestly,
If
it's
you don't,
gonna
if
be
you don't
easy
request
to
that, we're
miss
not gonna
people.
move you over
It's
on
gonna
the
be
pay
easy
scale.
It's not,
to
we need
get
to make
missed
it
if they
clear
don't
that
ask for
you
it.
guys can't be checking this
Right,
Right, so, yeah, so
every.
it is the responsibility of the employee to request prior years of experience and provide proof of
which,
we look up. At a minimum, that it's on the employee to request it.
it's not very regulation.
Maybe it needs to be, to request experience credit or. Years of service credit. Is the responsibility of the employee to request. Maybe it needs to be prior years. Experience
I think I'm just
credit,
a word
like,
for stuff, I'm sorry.
Like, I'm just sort of trying to match a little bit.
If you put credit after experience, then it follows what's just above it in the sense of.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 5 minutes. Alright.
57, is that what we said?
Yeah.
Okay.
We sprawled.
You're fine.
There's so many.
Yeah,
We're gonna
no, I
miss
think that's good. Because then they would have that guys.
There's a lot of them don't show up in different, like, daily stuff compared to on their pay statements.
Right.
They don't show up.
This still.
That's easier. But like, somebody that's daily subbing, it's not gonna look much different, like,
Right, because they, but if they're.
what they're getting, is not gonna look much different than it is.
For so long.
I did. Took my son and his